Hey, Southeast Missouri sports fans. Enjoy the show and want to take it on the go? You can find every episode on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, or YouTube. Tune in as they air by searching SEMO Sports Zone wherever you may be listening. Welcome to SEMO Sports Zone, presented by A-Corp Sports. David, you thawing out a little bit?
I hate the snow. Just absolutely hate it. Snow, ice, anything with it. I didn't live in Alaska for a reason, and here we are.
Sorry we missed last week. We're both driving from separate places to here, and when the ice gets on the roads, it kind of motivates us to take a day off.
Yeah, I didn't get dug out of my driveway till about Tuesday. So Tuesday morning. So it was not pleasant, and hopefully everybody is doing well, trying to get around in this ice. And it's not been fun for a lot of people around here.
All right. So do we want to cover any games that we missed from last week that we probably have the chance to highlight now?
Sure. Whatever you want to talk about. We've got there's a lot of good games that happened that we missed, but it's seems like months ago at this point.
Yeah. We'll just hit on some highlights just to go through it. First up, on a Monday, we had Whitfield at at Cardinal Ritter, but ended that game 70-64.
Yeah, Hayti went up there, and Whitfield's not a bad team. They're very small. They're 5'9", 5'7", 5'8", and they're just really quick. And not very many times Hayti is going to find a team that's quicker than they are, but Whitfield is extremely quick, and their little guards just kind of took it to them. They were able to pull away and get that win. But Hayti, it's not a bad loss for Hayti, but it's just one of those that they were just a little bit quicker, which is kind of surprising. Does
it kind of point towards maybe some district implications of what kind of teams Hayti might be facing in the future?
Oh yeah, Hayti is very good, and that was kind of a you drive up to St. Louis, you play in the morning. I think they played 11 or 12 o'clock. It was an earlier game.
Ooh.
It's kind of a tough travel day, and you're out of school, and it's just kind of one of those weird games on a Monday too. So it's kind of hard. Whitfield, of course, they're driving basically across the street to go to Cardinal Ritter. So,
right.
So I don't put much into the loss there. I think that Hayti is still really good, and I look for them to have a big tournament here in this Boot Hill.
All right, let's move on to some Tuesday games. On January 20th, we had Woodland 80, Bell City 69.
Yeah, Bell City played them tough, but they just never could get it closer than 4. Your Woodland, they just shared the ball so well, and they were hitting some shots and just playing well. Calvin Layton, I think he had 33 points. He was on fire, and they just have so many different guys that can score. They're just tough to stop. And Bell City, of course, playing without Richardson. That's kind of a they really need that inside guy.
It's a big ask.
Yeah, they really need that inside guy against some of these teams like Woodland and Dexter and teams like that. But Bell City played them tough.
Cape Central 58, New Metric County Central 52.
Yeah, Cape Central found some offense, and the roller coaster continues for New Metric County Central. They had the big win over Charleston, and then follow it up with a winnable game against Cape Central at home, and I think it was at home. And then they, Jaden Williams, he had 18, but nobody else really did anything for New Matter. Just a nice job of defense there by Cape Central.
All right, Risco 87, Cooter 74. We had that on broadcast.
Yeah, that was a fun game. Game was closer than the score, and I love the Cooter gym. I don't know about you, but I really like the dynamics
of the Cooter gym. It's one of the most interesting
gyms
I've ever seen. The thing about this game was, from what I saw, defense optional.
Yeah. We're not a lot of defense, but that's kind of the way that both teams play. They like to get up and down the floor and push the ball. And Risco was just getting to the rim, pretty much whenever they want, especially in that second half. Cooter's got a lot of good offensive players. Just again, like you said, defense optional. I think I wrote that down right there. Defense optional. Risco, I think their tougher schedule that Risco's had kind of helped them in that game. They playing in some tougher games as it came down the stretch. I thought they were just a little bit more prepared, but these teams will meet again, probably in the Tri-County and maybe in districts too. So these two teams will teams will definitely meet again.
It should be a fun matchup. Moving on, we've got Hayti 68, Malden 49.
Yeah, Hayti kind of, recovered from that Whitfield loss and played really well. Moncrief went down early on the tip for Malden in this game, and so he didn't play the rest of the game. That was a big loss for Malden, and Hayti took advantage of it. And it was kind of close. It was 31-28 at one point, and then Hayti just kind of dominated the second half. But without Moncrief, it was Malden just kind of struggled a little bit inside.
And then East Prairie 61, Kennett 57.
And man, Kennett played them tough. Kennett's getting better as his season goes on. They just are still struggling to find some scores, but Kennett played them tough. But East Prairie did what they had to do. They just kind of stretched the lead out, each quarter and did what they had to do. Made their free throws down the stretch, which was big. And Kennett trailed by 2 with 7 seconds left, had a chance to tie or take the lead, but East Prairie got the stop and was able to win going away there.
Hey, every time the Eagles win, it always feels like it's this. I don't want to say like momentous occasion, but it's also just like, oh, hey, let's go.
Yeah. They're a pretty good team. They're kind of flying under the radar a little bit, but they're not a bad team. They win a lot of close games. They're never really blowing anybody out. We'll talk about them, I'm sure, in the Scott Miss. They kind of had a closer score there. They just really don't blow anybody out, but it seems like, in these close games, they just find a way to win.
Yeah, they're a team that, where your expectations are every time you rise above them a little bit. I mean, it always feels like a good win for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I don't think a lot of people thought much about East Prairie this year, but they played well.
Moving on, we've got Jackson 77, Poplar Bluff 60.
Jackson just keeps rolling. I think they led by like 21, I think, in this game. Thinking back, again, it's months ago now, but I think it was like they led by like 20 points in that first quarter. And Poplar Bluff kind of closed it, later kind of in the second half. Jackson, kind of let up a little bit, but they completely dominated this game early, but they're just playing really well.
And then moving on, we covered this one on broadcast too. Puxico 62, Dexter 47.
Yeah, Dexter threw everything at them. They threw the 1-2-2. Their press. They ran. I think they ran a box and one on Burchard, and they just Colton Stroud had 20 points in this game, and just killed them.
Absolutely unconscious from 3-point.
And Stroud is I think Bobby Alford called him the Bearcat Killer, and I think they're having nightmares about him. We'll talk more about that later. But Dexter turned it over a lot in this game as well,
yeah.
and Puxico took advantage of that. And I just didn't think Dexter played great in this game, but Puxico did what they needed to win. Dexter showed that they could play with Puxico at times, and obviously that came to fruition here, last night. But it's just Dexter just can't turn it over and miss shots around the rim like that if they want to beat a team like Puxico.
Well, I've noticed something, and we'll talk about this in the next game where that I've got highlighted too. It always feels like not that Puxico never plays a complete game, but there's always some anomaly to it that changes things up, because you have Stroud popping off from the 3-point line. That really kind of, Dexter made their mistakes. Puxico always punishes mistakes. They do that in spades. But Stroud being that good from the 3-point line, and then we've got Puxico Bernie, where you've got Burchard scoring 50, and it's always one of those things where it's just like, all right, you can plan for everything, but you can't plan for that. Right?
Yeah, it seems like Puxico knows how to win. That's just the fact of the matter. They know how to win, and they're going to, they do whatever it takes to win. They may not bring their best game, but they're going to find a way. And, against Bernie, Burchard, 50 points. I think he was 18 of 19 from the free throw line or something.
Which is crazy.
Something like that. I'm like, he just was scoring at will, just tough to stop. And Bernie played them tough. They just couldn't get enough stops.
That's the thing, is like, you can talk about just finding a way to win, but you're playing against teams that they're not playing bad games either. Like these were, I'd say, quality losses against a team that's just that much better at this point.
Yeah, playing at Bernie, it was a great atmosphere. Acock had a big game inside, which I think is the way to beat Puxico. I think you've got to pound it inside and use your advantage if you've got the big guys inside. But you can't turn it over, because they're going to make you pay on those turnovers, and you've got to stop Burchard. But you're picking your poison, because if you stop Burchard, it's leaving Hancock and Stroud open, and so you kind of have to pick your poison there. It's just they've got weapons. They've got I think their weakness is inside, and I think that teams have to take advantage of that. And Bucksco, I thought, Bernie played them tough, but they just, couldn't pull it out. We'll see if that changes this week coming up. But man, that was a really good game, and Burchard just put on a show.
Absolutely. Moving on, we've got Jackson 50, Cape Central 37.
Again, Cape Central's playing better. They were able to hang in there early. A big rivalry game too.
Oh, yeah.
You can kind of throw out the records in this game. Teams are going to really get up. And
this was a close game last year too.
Yeah, Cape Central is going to grind you, and they really slowed this game down and tried to grind it out. And but it was a 12th straight win for Jackson. They had a big second quarter. John Ernst is really picking it up from where he was at the beginning of the year, just a sophomore. But he's really playing well, rebounding well, getting points inside, and facilitating to other guys too. So I think it's this Jackson team, again, that was their 12th win in a row and a big win, even though it was a little bit closer, I think, than what a lot of people thought. That's a good win. It's
a quiet 12th win in a row. Yeah. I don't feel like people talk about Jackson enough.
Yeah. They lost to Sykes. Only losses to Sykes in the SEMO Conference tournament at the very beginning of the year. And Jackson's just played so well since. And, I got to see them in the Christmas tournament up there, and they're a really good basketball team and have a lot of weapons. And it's just, they're a fun team to watch.
Moving on, we've got Dexter 73, New Madrid County Central 44.
Dexter just dominated this game. Layup drills. They forced turnover after turnover and just ran layup drills. Took Jaden Williams completely out of the game early, and Dexter just dominated. Sepulveda had 25, and he's been consistent most of the season as being a good scorer. Even when he doesn't score, he's making things happen and freeing things up for teammates. And Dexter shared the ball really well in this game. They just played really well, and they again, it was like running layup drills.
And then Notre Dame 60, Charleston 56.
Yeah, Notre Dame didn't play great in this one, but they were able to grind out the win, and they jumped out to a huge lead early, and Charleston just kind of fought back. But Notre Dame, they're good when they're playing toward the basket, but if they're just sitting around, passing around the perimeter, they really struggle. But they've got to play downhill, and they did that at times. And Charleston again, lost to a good team. But I got a question though. They're state ranked at number 5. I mean, I'm like, what? How many teams with a winning record have they beaten? And I've got the answer: 2. They beat Dexter early in the season, and then lost to Dexter, and they beat Festus. And no other team with a winning. They've not beat another team with a winning record. I think you're getting by on the name Charleston at this point to get that state ranking.
Yeah, it's a curious thing, and I mean, I'm not a part of that coaches poll, so I couldn't tell you what they see that we don't. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's every time those state rankings come out, it's going to either raise some eyebrows where they're placed, and if they're not placed, I mean, that might raise some more.
Yeah, it's just, they just, Charleston has that name, and we talked about that last year.
There's pedigree there.
Yeah, we talked about it last year whenever they were going into the districts against Bucksco. I kept saying, hey, this is Charleston. This is you can't just look past them in districts, and I still believe you just can't look past them in districts. But these Charleston teams are not the Charleston teams of 10, 15, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. These are not those teams, and they're a young team that's still trying to find themselves. And fifth state ranking, I'm like, I think teams like Hayti have got to be looking at that, being like, hey, that should be us up there. We've got a lot of wins,
sure.
and they've had a good year. So we'll see what happens as the season goes along. I just found it curious whenever I saw that they were 5th in state and had a losing record.
Hey, I think it's worth bringing up.
Yeah.
Moving on, we've got Zenith Hornersville 62, South Pemiscot 50.
Yeah, South Pemiscot struggling. And Zenith, man, they are a scrappy team. They really are. They're gritty. They get after you. They did a nice job defensively. Really got back. They didn't let South Pem get out and run, and they just completely dominated the glass. I think they out-rebounded them like 40-20 or something like that. It was a complete domination on the boards for Zenith, and they just played really well and did what they needed to do to win.
And then moving on to the Union Tournament on Thursday, January 29th. We're almost done with the rapid recap. Don't worry. Yeah. Sykeston 61, Washington 49.
Yeah, Sykeston came out, kind of struggled in this one. The layoff, when you get these snows and stuff like that, you don't get much practice time, and it's tough to get back into the flow of it. And then Sykeston has to drive 3 hours to play up and play, a team that they don't know anything about really. And they kind of got started really, really slow, kind of picked it up there in the second half. But it's just one of those games where just get the win. It's not going to be pretty, but you just get the win and try to get better for the next game, which they did.
And then on Friday, January 30th, we had Malden 58, Kennett 46.
Yeah, this was a good game. Kennett played them close for a while, but Malden Fowler, he had a big game. He had 24, 25 points, something like that. Kennett's just struggled to score in the second half. Hung with them in the first half, but just really kind of struggled in the second half. And Malden did a really nice job of defensively, which we don't talk about Malden's defense too much. It's usually about their offense and their inside play, but they played with a lot of energy and really got after it defensively.
All right, you want to move on to Stoddard County Tournament?
Sure.
So first game on the listing was Woodland 83, Richland 50. I feel like this one was very surprising at the start because I felt like Richland came out a little bit strong and Woodland kind of needed to wake up a little bit.
Yeah, again, you have snow and stuff, and especially these teams like Woodland. There's a lot of country roads and stuff up
in
there.
Marble Hills, up in the hills.
Yeah, up in the hills. We don't know how much they were able to practice, and,
right.
And that comes into play. If you're not playing much for a week, that plays into it. And I don't know personally, but they definitely came out and came out slow. Richland had the lead after the first quarter. Woodland does not play well in this tournament. We've said that before on here. They've never won this thing, and for some reason they just don't play well in this tournament. And they came out and proved that right from the start. But they picked it up, and Kinder kind of really struggled to get going in the game. But McCormick played well, Layton played well, Shock played well. All the other, everybody played well, but it just took them a while to get going.
And then Bernie 60, Advance 58. I feel like this one is the game that kind of raised some eyebrows. Just like, what's going on with Bernie right now?
Yeah, first off, Advance is not going to make anything easy.
No.
They're just not going to make it easy on you. And they play, they play Bernie well. They had the ball with a chance to tie or go ahead, and just weren't able to, had an unfortunate turnover there to give the ball back to Bernie. But man, they had a chance, and Caleb Henson, he was just hitting some big shots. He hit some big shots for him. Brody Rogers hit some big shots for Oran, for Advance. But man, they just hang in there and they just don't go away, and they just kept coming after them, and Bernie just couldn't put them away.
Just seemed like, and Bernie's lost this game before this year. And it's just one of those schemes where it's like Advance will try to out physical you in a lot of places. They will batter you. And, you talk about this Bernie team, what their offense is like. Of course, their guard plays. They want to hit that three ball. But John Aycock in the paint. Typically they'll triple team him if they know they can find a weakness in that. Yeah,
they were going to make Bernie beat him from outside, and Bernie wasn't hitting from outside as well. I think they but the big thing is Advance only shot 36% from inside the arc. You've got to be better than that, and a lot of that was due to the Bernie defense. Bernie really got after him defensively and didn't make anything easy for them either. And I thought Hobgood played a really good game. He was able to get to the rim, he hit some outside shots, but Aycock played well. He had a double-double, but I thought the big thing for Bernie was their defense inside really made it tough on Advance to get anything easy. And again, they only shot 36% from inside the arc. That's a nice job of defense there by Bernie.
Absolutely. Puxico 62, Bloomfield 21.
Yeah, just mismatched here. I think Bloomfield knew that they were probably going to be mismatched a little bit in this tournament. I think that they got some guys playing on the JV side that would normally play up on varsity a little bit for them. So Burchard had 30. They just kind of took it to them. 32 for Burchard. They just mismatch.
This one's hard. That one's hard to talk about.
Yeah.
Dexter 76, Bell City 51.
And Bell City just couldn't handle the Dexter press, and Dexter just killed them inside. Those two things just sealed the game. It was, Dexter trailed it 12-10 at one point, and then finished the first half on a 33-6 run, and that was ball game. Dexter kind of just dominated the second, that part, inside, and then just kind of ran through the second half and just kind of kept them, at arm's length. But it was I thought Dexter played well.
Yeah, and we've said it multiple times. This would be another game where I feel like Richardson really would have kind of mitigated a lot of this. You kind of get fooled by Dexter's size because a lot of them, they're pretty much all, it feels like they're the same height. And when you're on the floor with them, you kind of see it. It's like, oh, okay, all these guys they're not like in the upper echelons of tall, but they're all tall.
Yeah, you got like a bunch of 6'3" and out there and can jump. You know, you got freshman Nichols who can just sky out there, and you got Ibrahim inside, and you know, obviously Sepulvedo is, you know, they're all, you know, that 6'3", and then Turnbow plays like he's 6'3". So yeah, you've got a lot of, you know, Dexter plays well inside, and that's and you know, Bell City, obviously Richardson would have helped in, you know some of that, but it's just too much inside.
Let's go ahead and talk about the Boot Heel Conference tournament. This one, really good tournament as well. Crothersville 83, South Pemiscot 71.
Yeah, this is, you know, again, South Pemiscot not playing well, and Crothersville's playing much better. I mean, it was just a defense optional in this game, just up and down, not much defense, and you know, South Pem just kind of struggling right now. They're just not, you know, just, I mean, something's not clicking there. You know, Sammy Bryant had 30 points for Crothersville, just up and down, just again, layup drills, hitting shots, you know, just played outstanding. And on the flip side, you know, Ty Campbell kind of struggled. He only had 5 points. They really need him to score a little bit more to be successful there. But it was just, you know, Crothersville had South Pemiscot's number. South Pemiscot just never could really close on that game, and so that you had your upset in that tournament.
Yeah, I don't want to talk too much about just like technique of players, because, you know, we're living in the day and age of where like the 3-point, that's like everybody's practicing to hit that 3-point all the time. What South Pemiscot, I feel like, tends to bring is that fast action, you know, quick slashes, get across the court, things like that. And you know, that is that technique works a lot of times against a lot of teams too. I always feel like the longevity of it is what kind of gets you.
Yeah, and you know, here Crothersville can run. You know, they're just as quick as you are. So it's going to be tough to run like that. And both teams did run up and down the floor. Just not a ton of defense. And you know, at some point you kind of want to settle into a half court game and make somebody earn it. And
right.
And in this game there really wasn't a lot of earning it. It was just hey, we're going to get down, we're going to shoot it, and get up and down the floor. And Crothersville made more shots, and that's just what you get. And again, Crothersville's improving. They played a tough schedule, you know, up to this point, and you know, they're trying to, you know, improve. And they're a young team, and so they're a team that's kind of, you know, got their eyes on districts.
And then Zenith Hornersville 62, Campbell 54.
Tough game. Campbell led this game in half, and just kind of, you know, Zenith just kind of was grinding it out. They're gritty. Again, they're just very gritty, and trailed by 10 in the third quarter, but they just kept coming back and then made their free throws down the stretch. Once they got the lead, they were able to hold it by hitting their big free throws down the stretch. And you know, they're a good basketball team. I think they're another team that kind of flies under the radar. We don't talk about them much because they're down, so far down south. But they're they'll give Malden a game in the semifinals here coming up, and I think it's they're a team that's got to be. You can't forget about them when it comes to district time.
Absolutely. And then talking about Malden 74, Porterville 63.
Yeah, Malden was in control of this one the whole way. You know, Porterville was kind of struggling. Porterville did get a good game from Jack Bell and Hickenbottom, but they just didn't have much else there. And Fowler and Moncrief, I think Malden just goes so deep. They had 10 or 11 players score in this game, and they're a deep team, and you know, they kind of were in control the whole way in this one.
And then continuing on the Saturday trend, which was yesterday, talking about Stoddard County again, and I can advocate for both these games because I was covering both of them. Bernie 79, Woodland 69.
Yeah, this is the upset.
This is the upset.
You know, Bernie played outstanding. I mean, they shot it well. 14 of 23 from three. 14 of 23. I mean, that's over 60%. We talked about them a couple of weeks ago. They were 2 of 23, I think, against Advance, and now they're 14 of 23. I mean, when you shoot 14 of 23, you're going to beat most teams you play. Yeah. And I think Geiling was 5 of 7 from three. When he's hitting threes like that opens it up for everybody else, and just makes them tough to stop. And man, they just played really well. And Woodland, I mean, they didn't play bad. It was just Bernie just played really well and made shots. And you just got to tip your hat when a team's shooting like that. I mean, you just got to tip your cap. Yeah,
a couple of sticking notes in my head is, you know, Kinder going out for that little bit. That was rough. That was tough to kind of that really lowered, you know, defense and offense at that point. Is that because he's one of your key guys. But, you know, for Bernie, I mean, This is that kind of feast or famine game to me. And I'd like to see more consistency. I think when Bernie clicks, they really click. You talk about early in the season with that Bernie tournament, playing Risco, playing Campbell. In my brain, it was just like, all right, team chemistry, when it's there, I mean, you got it in spades. I feel like this was another game where it's just like everybody was on the same page. From top to bottom, it's just like Acock's throwing no-look passes to Geiling. Geiling's just, he's unconscious.
Well, that's a pretty play.
And then to even talk about just everything else, is just like, Kane Hobgood had a good game. Hunter Massey did everything Hunter Massey does. He's an unsung hero, and he does all that dirty work that needs to be done. And then I feel like Blaine Morgan really, in that second half, he really came into his own too, got battered. Yeah. And it did not faze him whatsoever.
Yeah, and again, this is kind of what we thought from Bernie we were going to see all year whenever we saw him play early in the season. This is kind of what we know they have this potential to be that way. It's just, again, like you said, finding that consistency and doing it time and time. Now you're not always going to shoot 14 of 23 from three. That's just
right.
That's just, you're just not going to do that. But you also don't want to shoot 2 of 23 either. So you've got to kind of find that balancing act in the middle. You've got to, you can't forget about Acock in the in the post there. And but this Bernie team, they've got it, They have this ability, and whenever they're hitting like that, watch out, because this team, if they can get rolling, this is a team that's going to be tough to deal with as we go through the end of the season and into districts for sure.
Absolutely, like you said, if you can find some consistency, if you can show out every single game that. There were some close games that it's like, okay, these are games you should have won. Or there's just performances that are like, okay, what do you clean up? If Bernie can find those and really make those adjustments, like you said, definitely a threat team during districts for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, they're playing with a lot of juniors. I mean, most of these guys are juniors out there. So, this is just leading up to next year as well. So, I mean, you've got not just this year, but next year you're kind of talking about too. So this is a team that's fun to watch whenever they're clicking.
And then Puxico 61, Dexter 58.
And this was just a terrific basketball game.
It was a great game.
I thought both teams played well. I thought that, I thought Dexter did everything that they could do to win this game. It comes down to the end there, and you can't let Burchard beat you. I mean, if you're Dexter, you just can't do it. Make someone else beat you. And Stroud did. I mean, it's just, hey, that tip your cap and just, hey, we gave you our best and you were better. And, but it was a terrific basketball game. Dexter's a tough matchup when they're playing well for Puxico because of, again, for the inside stuff that we talked about, for the, for their height and stuff, that it makes them a very difficult matchup. And Puxico was able to, again, like we talked about, to pull out the win, find a way to win the game. And that's just what you have to do. And I mean, Dexter shot it well, 56% from the floor, 63% from 2, 43% from 3. I mean, that's a great shooting night, and they just still didn't have enough. And it's disappointing for Dexter, but a great win for Puxico and an exciting win. And only thing that I hate about it is now we've got to wait till Wednesday to watch the Puxico Dexter game, because there's just so much, there's the buildups all there.
Puxico Bernie.
Or excuse me, Puxico Bernie. It's just, there's so much buildup that's going to go away. They're both going to play another game before they get to play. And it's just unfortunate that Mother Nature had to mess everything up, because it would just be great to come back the next night or 2 nights later and play this game. And, now we're going to have a little bit of time off there to kind of some of the build up to go away.
I feel like for Puxico fans too, this has to be a win that feels very earned. And not to say all your wins this season have been gimmies. I'm not saying that at all. But, when you blow teams out, sometimes you maybe get complacent in that feeling of just like, all right, this is where we're supposed to be. I feel like when you're challenged, that's when it feels the best, of just like, okay, you gave us your best shot. It's very close. We came out on top.
Yeah, and for Puxico, they've got bigger aspirations than just the county tournament. I mean, they want to win it, obviously, but I mean, they have bigger aspirations. And these close games that they're playing like this, that's only going to help them as they go into districts and into state play. I mean, this is only going to help them. And these are the type of games they need. And for them to win these games, it gives them that confidence that, hey, if they're in another one like this, we can pull this game out. It's a great win for Puxico, and it's heartbreaker for Dexter. But because, I mean, again, I thought they played really well. They did what they needed to do to win the game. Is just, tip your cap. I mean, Puxico was just better.
Yeah. And for Dexter too, I mean, you think about what they're going to lose, what they're keeping. I mean, obviously Ibrahim they're keeping, and then, Nichols, I mean, he's just a freshman, so he's coming back. Going to get
Geatley's
Geatley back.
Yeah, Geatley's back. I mean, the cupboard is not bare for Dexter. They'll be back in this situation next year, except, instead of pucks going their way, I think it might be a Bernie Mule team in their way. But
hey, we don't know yet.
But we don't know. I mean, you never know what's going to happen, between years. But yeah, it's this is a Dexter team. The cupboard is not bare. They've got a lot back, and this Puxco team, they're taking advantage of some good seniors that they have right now.
Absolutely. And then moving on to the Union tournament, we have Sykeston 59 and Borgia 47.
Yeah, Sykeston avenged their loss to Borgia last year in this tournament. They played very well, very, very smart in this game. The Warman kid that killed Sykeston last year, they held him to 16 points, but they really defended him well and didn't let him go off. Sykeston hit their shots. They played good D. Sean Cole Jr. had a really big game for him and played really well defensively. Stepped up and hit some big shots late, hit some good free throws, and so it's a good win for Sykeston. I mean, this tournament, you kind of 3 hours up there for this tournament, each day, and you're like, well, what do you get out of this tournament? Well, they usually have a good game against Borgia in this championship game, and I think this is a game that helps them become district time. And Borgia is always well coached. They've got a Hall of Fame coach up there. They're a really good team, and this is a good win for Sykeston.
Absolutely. Sykeston, for them, like iron sharpens iron, and sometimes whenever you play in this area, you're not getting the talent pool that you're kind of expecting at your class level, things like that. So to get that in other places when you have to go there, I mean, there's no reason not to play these games.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is playing Borgia again. They're so well coached. It's just it's just a good matchup every time they play. And again, Borgia beat them last year, and that Sykeston team was really good last year, and that Borgia team beat them. So it's this is a Borgia team that can really get after them, and they did. And Kobe Thomas, I think, was MVP of the tournament up there. I think Ben James and Jaharis Goodwin, they made all tournament team. So just and we haven't even mentioned Markel Murray, who he kind of just stuffs the stat sheet every time he's out there. So I mean, this is a Sykeston team that's playing well right now. They kind of recovered from that opening game, and just kind of an anomaly. The next game they beat Union, I think 81-39 or something, and just killed them. So the Sykeston team's playing pretty well right now. All right,
David, do you want to get to your dozen?
Sure. It's kind of tough because there's not a lot of teams that have played, and then we kind of have some losses, so some of it's going to be similar, but I got Bernie sliding into that 12 spot with that win over Woodland. They've got to get in there, and I've got Delta at 11 and Chaffee at 10. They only played one game. You can't really drop them. But I mean, I think Bernie can Bernie beats Puxco. They're really going to fly up this fly up this 12. I've got Notre Dame really struggled. They went over and played in the Nixa tournament and were beaten. They lost all 3 games over there, and so I've got them dropping to 9. I've got Dexter at 8. I've got Hayti moving up to 7.
There you go.
I know you want them up, and they're moving up. I've got Scott City at 6. I only dropped Woodland to 5. I mean, I know that they lost to Bernie, but I've got them sliding just one spot down. But I still think they're one of the top 5 teams in the area. Van Buren moving up to 4. They just continue to play well. Puxico obviously at 3, Jackson 2, Sykeston 1. That's kind of going to, those 3 are probably going to stay until that last week of the regular season. Yeah.
I guess to ask a more inflammatory question, what's it going to take for Puxico to move up over Jackson?
We'll see what happens when Jackson plays Sykeston. I mean, right now, Jackson, I mean, they're a Class 6 school that's won, I think, 13 in a row now. They had a big win over Ladue on Friday night. Jackson's done nothing right now I think they're something in 1, 16, 17 and 1.
Well, I guess that's the narrative I'm bringing up because, obviously, Puxico and Jackson have played each other in preseason, but, Jackson 17-1, Puxico 19-1.
Yeah. I mean, I don't put much stock into the preseason. Puxico had played Sykeston in the summer, and we saw how that came out. So right now, I mean, and just the eye test, I just think Jackson is much more difficult a team to beat. With the size that they have, I really think Puxico would struggle with that head-to-head. So I'm very comfortable with the 1, 2, 3 there. If Sykeston blows out Jackson, I would probably probably move Puxico up.
Sure. It does become difficult because that's where you do just have to compare and contrast. It's not like we have a 1-to-1 like Puxico playing Sykeston.
Yeah.
I mean, that was kind of really beneficial just to see two teams actually play each other.
Right. Yeah. And I would love to see Jackson play Puxico. I mean, it would be I think that would be a fun matchup. But as of right now, I mean, like I said, just the eye test. I think Jackson's just comes across as better with the size that they have and so many weapons.
Good list. I mean, it's the usual suspects, just kind of shifted around, but hey, I approve. Let's go over some conference standings really quick, just because you've listed this.
Yeah.
So helpfully for me.
I don't have them in front of me, so you have to bear with me.
SEMO Conference, let's just go down. Jackson number 1, 17-1, and then Sykeston number 2, 17-2. That's just because of conference record.
Right. That's just conference record. They just, that's going to come down to that last game in that last week in February, I believe is when they play.
Yeah, I feel like we're building up because that one has so many implications too.
Yeah, and that will pretty much, it should decide the SEMO Conference and decide probably the top spot on my dozen here for the rest of the season. So that's got a lot of implications on that one.
And then sticking with the SEMO Conference, I mean, this is just something to think about later. Notre Dame and Dexter at that 3 and 4 spot, 12-8 and 11-6.
Yeah, and conference records. I mean, they'll match up. I think they maybe match up that last week in February too, or near the end of the year. So I mean, that's another that's another big game that because I can't remember the last time Dexter finished top 3 in the SEMO Conference, but they've still got a lot of tough games left. They're going to have to play Poplar Bluff. They're going to have to play Notre Dame. You've got some tougher games there for Dexter as well.
And then Boot Heel Conference, I mean, we've got Hayti at 11-4, Malden number 2 at 13-6.
Yeah, and obviously, I think Hayti, they're kind of going to that matchup, Hayti Malden, probably in that championship game in that tournament. We'll talk about that maybe in a little bit, but right now, I mean, I think Hayti is the class of the Boot Heel Conference. I think they've got a lot of weapons. They go so deep. A lot like Jackson, just a lot of weapons, a lot of guys that can score, and they just do so many things so well. They're just a tough team, and Malden's not a bad team.
No, not at all.
But let's think about where Malden was last year at this time and where they are now. It's just a complete turnaround, and this is a good Malden team.
Yeah, I feel like some of Malden's losses were probably frustrating for them. And I feel like you're at that point where it's like, okay, they should be, because these are games that you could win. Yeah.
Malden, I think, new coach, you got some new players in there. You're kind of trying to figure some things out.
Some growing pains.
I think you're figuring some things out. They've been playing much better over the last, couple of weeks. And I think it's a team that, again, once you get into districts, anything can happen. And they're a team that I think is starting to put it together.
Absolutely. And then Stoddard County, I mean, Puxico's king of Stoddard County right now.
Yeah, it's going to – and again, Puxico Woodland, they played near the end of the season. That's going to be the deciding game, I think, for the regular season title.
It was last year too.
Yeah, I think it's at Woodland this year because I think it was at Puxico last season. So I think it'll be at Woodland. It's going to be a tough game. I mean, I would have liked to have seen this game in the championship of the Stoddard County tournament, but at the same time, I think that again, Woodland doesn't play well in that Stoddard County tournament, so hey, we'll see what happens in the regular season.
And then I'm just going to point this out because it's one of those where it's like, Advance at number 3, 9-9, but 3-1 in conference play.
Yeah, they still have some tough games to go. Dexter plays them, I believe, on Friday night coming up, so that'll be a tough game. And I tell you what, Dexter, we're going to talk about their schedule coming up this week, but they've got Sykeston on Tuesday. Well, if that's not enough, you got Woodland on Wednesday.
It's brutal.
And then you got Advance on Friday. And again, Advance doesn't make anything.
You can't overlook them.
I'm like, you're going to get, you can't just go in there just thinking, all right, we've had 2 tough games. Now we're going to get through this one. No, you can't with this Advance team. This Advance team is tough. And that's a tough schedule for Dexter this week coming up.
Absolutely. Scott Miss Conference. We got Scott City at that number 1 spot, 15-3.
Yeah, I think they've clinched. I think because think they're done. They're done with their conference schedule. They won that conference in the regular season, and have a good chance to win that tournament.
Yeah, rest on your laurels there. And then East Prairie at number 2, 10-6, 4-1.
Yeah, and we'll see. I mean, there's some good teams in that conference. Chaffee and Delta, both of those teams are there as well. That's a tough top 4 in that conference. Definitely, when you get to that tournament, that's those 4 teams. Any of those 4 teams could beat another.
Absolutely. And then Ozark Foothills, we've got obviously Puxico number 1, but East Carter number 2 with 10-7, 4-1.
Yeah, I think Puxico and East Carter play coming up this week. I think that should pretty much seal it for Puxico if they win that game. So they'll probably win that conference. And if they get that win, and obviously I think the Stoddard County Conference is a little bit tougher right now than the Ozark Foothills, but it'd be nice to have, if you're Puxico, nice to have 2 regular season conference titles. You have a chance to win 2 conference tournaments. That's a nice little thing that a lot of teams don't get to have.
Hey man, if you're going to play with house money, you better stack the deck.
That's right.
Tri-County Conference, you got Risco at the number 1 spot, 12-5, and then 5-0 in conference play, and then Cooter right behind them, 14-3 and 5-1.
Yeah, I think as long as Risco takes care of business in the regular, and I think they've got 2 conference games remaining. I think as long as they take care of business in those 2, that they should, they'll be the conference champs in that. But that Risco Cooter game kind of decided that down at Cooter. But I think that tournament may have some fun games in it as well, because I think Risco Cooter could meet again.
And then let's talk about upcoming games. On Monday, is there anything poking out to you that I should be taking note of?
I don't think so. I don't think I have anything written down for Monday. I think you have some JV games in the Stoddard County tournament, but not a lot on Monday, I don't think.
You got Clarkson at Delta C7, which Delta C7, I mean, we don't talk about them much, but they've had a pretty good year from what I understand.
The Wallace kid is a really nice player for them. And we've talked about Clarkton a little bit. Clarkton is a team that's got some younger players that are really kind of starting to blossom a little bit. I feel like it's been 3 weeks since Clarkton's played because I think they had some sickness right before the snow and stuff. So it's but yeah, that ought to be a good game. And, they're kind of middle of the pack there in the Tri-County Conference.
Yeah, just a couple of Tri-County games on Monday. And then on Tuesday, Bloomfield at Bell City. That one kind of pokes out to me a little bit. Yeah,
got a little chippy yesterday in that game that they played in the county tournament. So then it's just as the schedule goes, you get to turn around and play them again.
Yeah.
So that ought to be fun.
It was one of the, call it heat of the moment, anything like that, because it didn't seem like either team or either coach was didn't like each other. It was all shaking hands and, just good games like before the game started, but then you end up with 3 technicals in a game.
Yeah. In the heat of the battle, it's, you got a little, both teams kind of play that style where it's kind of a little bit physical and, hey, it's, we'll see what happens, Tuesday night, but fun. That could be a fun game.
Absolutely. Jackson at Charleston.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think Jackson's rolling right now, and it's a tough matchup for Charleston with the size that Jackson has. And, at Charleston, though, it's never easy. It's never easy to go into Charleston and play. But I think Jackson, the way they're playing right now, they even with the snow and stuff, they didn't miss a beat when they played Ladue. And, I think just Jackson team can go in there and take care of business.
I think it'll be interesting to see going forward, just, Jackson and Sykeston's games, if it really all leads up to just who clinches this conference by that final matchup.
Yeah, I mean, we want both teams to keep winning because we want that game to be, everything. You don't want one of it, because the way the SEMO conference goes, if you have the same, conference record, you just tie. There's no tiebreakers. So, you want to you want that game to be for all the marbles. So you kind of want Jackson and Sykeston to continue winning.
And then speaking of Sykeston at Dexter.
Yeah, I think this one will go a little bit different than it did at the field house. I think, Sykeston's not going to overlook Dexter. They're going to be ready to play. Dexter playing them close like that. I think Sykeston's going to be ready to go. Dexter's got to control tempo just like they did. They've got to rebound well, do the exact same things that they did, over at the field house in Sykeston. But I think Sykeston's just going to have a little bit too much for them. And, this Dexter team's played some tough games going. But they should be ready for districts. I mean, I think you have some decent teams in your district with Notre Dame and Fredericktown, and Doniphan's coming on as well. But I think Dexter, with playing these games, I think that's going to get them ready for that district tournament, and maybe they can, get another district title out of that.
Yeah, you talk about just kind of, the tougher games that you're playing, maybe kind of how you feel, I don't want to say downtrodden, but like a little beaten up just by how things have been going recently. But at the same time, you're looking towards district play in the future. I mean, that's all that matters at the end of the day.
Yeah, Dexter's lost a ton of close games this year to good teams, and it seems like they're in every single game. I don't think, I think the Puxico game at Puxico was like the biggest, that they've lost by, and you just feel like they're in every game. And one of these days, I think they're going to get one of these. Yeah. I really do. I think they're going to get one of these games here soon, and then that's just going to build their confidence. And you want that confidence going into district. So Dexter's got some more wins on their schedule. If you're Dexter, you just can't get down. Just keep plugging along. I think they're playing well.
Absolutely. Oh man, let's look at more games coming up. Okay, East Carter at Puxico. That's going to be one for. That Ozark Foothills.
Yeah, that should decide that Ozark Foothills. In East Carter, they've had some good games as of late.
They play physical too.
They do. They picked up a win, I believe, on Saturday. That's I think they beat Neelyville, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a good win for them. East Carter, they just have to continue to plug along. We'll see how that goes, but I like Puxico to kind of win that OFC.
Should be fun for Will Bogus to go back to his former team and maybe see them again.
Yeah. Renew some acquaintances.
And then Bernie at Twin Rivers. This one that's got a lot of narrative behind it.
Yeah. Twin Rivers knocked them off in the Christmas tournament, kind of opened everybody's eyes to wait. We were kind of crowning Bernie a little bit and, thinking they were probably one of the better team, top 5 team in the area or such. And then Twin Rivers came along and said, well, hang on. So this is Bernie's chance for a little bit of revenge here. And, I can tell you one thing, I bet Coach Long's going to have them motivated and ready to play this game. I think the players will be ready to play.
Absolutely. Boot Hill tournament, Hayti versus Crothersville.
Yeah, this ought to be a good game. The two teams that are huge rivals, and no love lost there for that game. They played earlier in the year, and Hayti won, kind of going away, and Hayti seems to be getting healthy, so I like Hayti in this. They've had some time off, so we'll see if that impacts them any. But I expect Hayti to win this game, but I think it's going to be a good one. For
the most part, yeah, I think Hayti is favored, but it is nice to see Crothersville kind of coming into their own too.
Yeah, a lot of young players kind of fitting into the mold there that they're bringing along. Coach Bell down there does a really nice job, and they're kind of building this thing back up. They lost a lot from last year's team, and this year's team they're getting better each and every week. Each and every time I see them play, they're getting better.
And then we've got Malden versus Zenith's Hornersville.
This ought to be just a knockdown, drag out. I think Zenith's going to play Malden well. I think it's going to come down to whoever can make some big shots there at the end. I think Malden's athleticism inside is going to pose some problems for Zenith, but I think it's going to be a really good game. And the two winners there, I think it's going to be Hayti and Malden, and I think that's going to be a really nice championship game.
And then moving on to Scott Miss, man, both these tournaments just have games that are just like, man, I'd like to see all these.
Yeah, there's some good games on Tuesday.
Scott City versus Delta.
Again, this is two state-ranked teams going at it in the semifinals. I was kind of surprised Delta got that 4 seed in that tournament. I really kind of thought that this could be a championship game, but I think that this could be the equivalent of a championship game. I think these two teams match up well. I think Scott City's got a little bit too much, but if you tell me Delta wins this game, I'm not shocked. I think this is I think it'll be an up and down game. I think there'll be a lot of points scored in this one, but I like Scott City here. But man, it ought to be a good game.
Yeah, Scott City on paper I think is more favored, but I've been high on Delta this year. Yeah, I like them.
Very senior dominated team. They do so many good things. They get up and down the floor. They're gonna pressure the ball. You got to take care of the basketball if you play Delta. And man, I think Scott City's got a little too much size for them. I think that size inside is going to be the difference.
And then Chaffee versus East Prairie.
Again, I think Chaffee lost to East Prairie earlier in the year. East Prairie, I think, that's kind of the one game we all saw, and they're like, oh, East Prairie beat Chaffee. That's kind of surprising. I think Chaffee's got a little bit of revenge on their minds here. Chaffee doesn't play in this Scott Miss championship game very often. I mean, this is kind of some different territory for them. East Prairie's trying to get back, back into that championship game. So I think this could be a toss-up game to me. If I had to pick, I would take Chaffee, but I think it's anybody's game. I think it's just both of these games are just going to be outstanding.
Absolutely. And then in the Stoddard County tournament, even these games, even your fifth place games, Advance versus Bell City, I feel like that's going to be a battle.
Yeah, two rivals, about 5-10 minutes apart. That they're going to travel to Bloomfield to play this game. They could, but
might be more of a football game than a basketball game.
These two teams are physical. They're going to get after it, and bring your pads and your mouthpieces on this one because it's going to be a fun game. I don't know. This is going to be I don't know, last team standing. It's because they're going to beat on each other for a while. It's going to be a battle.
Absolutely. Third place game is going to be Woodland versus Dexter.
This game, the first time they played, went down to the wire, and Woodland was able to pull it out miraculously. I mean, it was Dexter had this in their pocket, and I think that's the one that they let get away. I think if you're Dexter, you can't no matter what happens against Sykeston on Tuesday night, you've got to shake that off. You've got to shake off what happened against Puxico and get after this Woodland team, because this Woodland team will blow you out if you're not ready to play. And I think this Woodland team is going to come in a little angry. And I think Dexter, I think this could be a really good matchup, but I think Dexter's got to, they've got to shake off these games that are coming up. I know they're playing some tough games. They got to shake them off and come ready to play. Yeah,
I think for Woodland too, I'm just curious of what they're going to look like on Wednesday. I mean, obviously Kinder went out of the game for a little bit, came back into it, but I feel like that's got to, he was clutching that knee pretty hard.
Yeah, hopefully everything's okay there. Him coming back in the game was a good sign. I think, you kind of expect him to play, and if not, then that completely changes the look here. But if him coming back in the game, that was a good sign. So hopefully he's okay.
And then championship game, Bernie versus Puxico.
Yeah, hopefully this is what it's built up to be. I think that Bernie, I want them to stay hot from outside. I want this game was played just a little over a week ago, and they looked, it was a good game. It was a 12-point game but it was a lot of points scored.
Yep.
Fun to watch. Great atmosphere. I expect
a lot of points scored. You say?
Yeah. A lot of 80 to 68. Yeah. So I expect a lot more, in this game. Great atmosphere. I expect.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's going to be a sea of orange. That's how it.
Oh yeah,
any Puxico game is now.
And Bernie's going to bring everybody. Yeah. This is going to be it's going to be full, and it's going to be fun. It reminds me of back in, I'm going to date myself, but back in '89, it was very similar. Bernie beat Puxico in the Stoddard County tournament on free throws from Anthony Bean, and then the next week, Puxico went down to Bernie, and Brian Blackburn scored over 50 points and beat Bernie down there. This is kind of reverse, but can Bernie kind of do the same thing and win the county tournament after Puxico beats them in the regular season? So we'll see if that kind of history kind of repeats itself a little bit. But it's I don't know. I expect a really good game. I think Puxico they just find ways to win, and I think it's just to pick against Puxico, I think is bad because they just find ways to win.
It's a tall task to do for sure. For Bernie, I mean, man, if you play from the 3-point line like you did against Woodland, that gives you a solid chance. At the same time, you cannot let Landon Burchard score 50 points on you. You just can't do it.
I would think that he's not going to get 50 in this one, but you say that maybe he gets 60. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I think Coach Long's going to have a plan. I almost think that Bernie may try to slow it down a little bit and not get out and run with them as much. I think that for Bernie, they've got to take care of the basketball. I think that's the biggest thing for them. Obviously you got to control Burchard and you can't let him beat you and score 50. But I think the main thing for Bernie is take care of the basketball and not turn it over. I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, I think for both these teams too. I mean, it'd be nice if you didn't have to play a game in between.
Yeah,
that's the only thing is you don't really get to rest and scheme.
Yeah, the build up also loses a little bit, but it's still, hey, they've had to do this before. I remember years back that they had to play this championship game on a Wednesday, and it's packed. It's going to be packed. Just going to have that same feel of a championship game. It's just going to be the build up. Just is going to be a little bit different.
Right. And then for Thursday, who do we got?
Boot Hill Championship is
Championship.
That's a big one.
Pickett at Delta. That's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know much about much about those teams down there. But I tell you what, Delta C7. I'm looking for. I need to see them play. That's a team I want to see play.
And then Van Buren at Neelyville.
I tell you what, Neelyville plays everybody tough. I mean, they're just one of those. They're kind of like Advance. They're gonna get after you. They're not gonna go away. They're just a tough, greedy team. But this Van Buren team, I think that they're having a heck of a year right now. I think they're playing really well.
And then on Friday, Dexter at Advance. We talked about that already.
Mm-hmm.
That one's going to be fun. Notre Dame at Saxony. That'll be interesting. And then Poplar Bluff at Sykeston.
Yeah, I think it's Sykeston's homecoming. I expect. I can't remember the last. I think it's like 2000. Oh, I can't remember the last time Poplar Bluff actually beat Sykeston. It's been a long time. And I don't expect it to change. I think Sykeston gets up to play Poplar Bluff. And I think it's just this is a good coming out for homecoming game for Sykeston.
And then we were talking about this one, even off camera, Jackson at Webster Groves.
Yeah, this game was fun last year. Webster Groves, their player Atkinson, he hit a shot at the buzzer in overtime to beat Jackson last year. This ought to be a fun game. It's up at Webster Groves this year. Both of these teams are really good, and this will be a really fun game. We'll see how that winning streak holds out for Jackson if they can pull this one out.
And then on Saturday, we've got the Charleston 6-man shootout. I mean, there's some game matchups in here that are I think honestly some of them are really cool, just because it's teams we don't typically ever see.
Yeah.
Play each other. You got New Mexico County Central versus Bernie, and you've got Woodland versus Van Buren. That one is like,
yeah, that's the one that interests me. I'm really looking forward to that game. Hopefully Woodland's 100% healthy, but I think that's going to be a really good matchup too. Kind of give you an idea of how Woodland maybe matches up against Puxco, because Van Buren played Puxco so well, and this ought to be a really fun game.
That feels pretty marquee, I would say. And then obviously we've got all these tournaments, they're either wrapping up or OFC's just starting. So a lot to look forward to in the future.
Yeah, there is a lot of good games this week. And now it seems like we're, pedal to the metal getting ready to hit the district tournament, time. So February is going to fly by.
All right. I've gone cover to cover on the packet you've given me. So I think that just about covers it. Any final thoughts, David?
No. But if you're shoveling snow, shovel it 20 feet, clear the 20 feet before your driveway so the snow plow doesn't plow you.
Is it even snow at this point? All mine's just ice.
Yeah, even ice. If a plow's coming down your road, for this life advice for future, just clear that 20 feet before your driveway, and when the plow comes by, you won't be plowed in.
All right. I think that's going to cover it for both of us. This has been the SEMO Sports Zone. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.